Oh, yeah. He said they made money.
Welcome, everyone, to the Hicksville Regular Council meeting.
He was in the scene.
We will start with a prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and then a roll call, as usual. Dear Father, we thank you for blessing our community. We thank you for this day and the freedom to meet. We ask for wisdom in our decision-making this evening. Thank you for the freedoms that we've been allowed to enjoy. Protect those that serve and protect us and our country. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Ridgway.
Present.
Jones.
Here.
Baker.
Yep.
Barth.
Here.
Beverly.
Yes.
Bassett.
Here.
Thank you. You have the minutes from the regular council meeting in your packets. Does anyone have any additions or corrections?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as.
Okay.
A second.
Roll call, please.
Baker.
Yes.
Bassett.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Beverly.
Yes.
Barth.
Yes.
Ridgway.
Yes.
And you have the June 25th special council meeting minutes in your packet. Are there any additions or corrections?
I move we approve the minutes as written.
I second it.
Roll call, please.
Barth.
Yes.
Beverly.
Yes.
Bassett.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Ridgway.
Yes.
You have the bills. The approved bills list in your packet. Are there any questions about the bills?
Yes, ma'am.
Park shelves in new restroom, $500.
Look at me for anything.
Oh, no, behind you. Behind you.
Behind you.
Yeah, I had James put them in and he never gave me a price.
Must be some nice ones. Not really?
I meant they're just ordinary shelves. I didn't know what
Are they freestanding or
they were.
on the wall? Are they those adjustables that you can put in the different slots? Okay, that helps.
Some of us, so you guys can put your NVR and stuff on, correct?
Yeah, we
For your
have, yeah.
video surveillance system.
Yeah. We got some extra ones put up too. So we can
Okay, thank you, Val. Burn Nickel, Water North Main, Water Line RP, 1038.81. What's that?
Water line repair. That he called them in to come and fix it as part of the North Main Water Line project, which it really wasn't. It was clogged with leaves.
Not grass clipping.
Okay. And once again, I'll grease this squeaky wheel over here. Sewer flow metering, $900. How long is this going to go on?
They require it.
As long as he, like I said, we've talked about it, we've asked them to drop
Got a
it.
Bowling
They
Green.
will not go. They want to see numbers before and after and during and everything else. We've asked them if we could do numbers at the plant instead. We don't want to pay it either.
Ooh.
No.
And also, we have the sales quote for another $10,000 worth of stuff for a new sewer jetback. This, why wasn't this bid with the machine?
It was supposed to.
Yes, it was.
We were buying everything.
Yeah.
I think our new guy let it slip.
This is baloney.
I remember you asking flat out, you're not gonna be asking in a few months to start buying different heads to fit in all the piping.
Don't come to us.
We were
for
told
more.
everything that we'll ever need for any piping in Hicksville is all included on that quote for the $327,000. And now they have, I know that's coming up in Cheryl's report later from Best. So
I think somebody chat with them and that's kind of like, I know we're using some of the fittings off of the old truck, which will not help the sale of that any, but, that's like going out to Schmitty's and buying yourself a new Corvette that doesn't have a motor in it. What good's the machine if we don't have the cutting tools to put on the end of it?
Well, from what I gathered on the committee meetings with Jeff and Jim and, talking to Bob and the guys down at the plant, our machine works with our fittings. We already knew that.
Mm-hmm.
But if we want to go through the line, the bigger lines in town, the ones we find bigger roots, and cut them out on our own without going out and hiring Atkins or somebody else.
Well-
I said it from the get-go too, Ron. I said, let's get it to where we don't need to go back and buy any more.
Here's the thing that makes this question arise for me, is all the years that we had that truck, especially when it was supposed to be new.
Right.
And I'd say, why don't we do something on this line, and instead of just telling everybody, hey, it's clear full of roots, do something about it.
Right, exactly.
They would say, well, our heads are too big, it'll blow the sewer up. And now that we've got a truck with the capabilities, now they're saying they gotta have this, and we haven't replaced any sewers.
I did get a phone call from Bub and said, because they went down the Main Street line, and he goes, we had some other calls, did you get any backflow when we flushed those lines? I didn't personally, but they said they had gotten some calls. He goes, we had it regulated down, this is the new system, had it regulated down to clean. I said, did you get everything? He said, no, there's more in there. He goes, that's where some of these other parts. And I don't think they're asking for everything on that list. I said, I told the committee and Bub, it's something we need to take a look at. I think they're asking for 2 items off of it. The one on top and then the one, I wrote it down here in my notes, but they said if they got into the bigger lines and bigger situations where our nozzles wouldn't cut and or remove that debris, they want to buy them so they can get through it.
I understand, but back to the original, when I said, this is all involved.
I thought so too. I wanted it all about.
But we know it's not, so now where are we going
Well,
with
it's not like they didn't know we had those bigger lines. Why wasn't it thrown into the deal? Case closed, moving on. Pay the bills.
I'll second that motion. Pay the bills.
Roll call, please.
Ridgway,
Yes.
Johns,
Yes.
Baker,
Yep.
Barth,
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes.
Bassett.
Yes.
We have Lee Rauscher from Pogemeyer Design Group to update council. If you would step up to the podium, please.
Some handouts too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as you're aware, we were also made aware of your leadership changes last Tuesday morning. I found out from one of your staff, and then Mayor Collins and I also talked. And she was asking about several projects, and then when Kent, we found out he was back on, we had a meeting Wednesday morning, and he was also trying to get up to date. So I volunteered to suggest we could come over here and at least update you on Pogemeyer Design Group projects, what we're working on, answer any questions. So fill in any gaps that you may have on what you do or don't know. So right now, the City Beach Street Improvements Program for Arthur and Cornelia Streets, contract is awarded to award construction. Pre-construction meeting was last Wednesday. Construction is slated to start the week of July 16th. There's I believe a manhole and a catch basin or catch basin and curb inlet that the village needs to adjust before they can start, so it works with their schedule there. And then construction is anticipated to be complete by July 31st. The 2018 OPWC Chicago Avenue water line, we sent an agreement back on February 12th. We didn't get that returned to us until May 10th, so typically we get those back within a month, and so we lost a couple months on that. We would like to have had that designed and ready to be out for bid are out for bid already and even have bids in. We're going to get real tight at the end of the year to try and get that done. As you're aware, OPWC agreements and funding isn't available until after July 1st. So like I said, we'd like to have those bid and ready to go. So I don't know if the village received the agreement yet today from OPWC, but when it comes in, okay, if we get their agreement number on that, so we can follow up on our end, we can get on their website and pull down the information we need to help you all out on processing, passing that along. I said because we got started late, we don't anticipate design to be done for another about 3 weeks. So we're looking at bidding project, I missed a day on there, the week of, I think, July 23rd is what that should be. And then tentatively receive bids August 14th, issue contract, hopefully the week of like September 11th, month turnaround on that. Still trying to get the main water line project done by December 31st, the substantially complete, and then final completion next spring. Kent and I had talked a little bit about scope on that, and depends on how you move forward with Kent's role in the future and the village role. The OPWC project on Chicago Avenue Waterline with Spencerville to Westwood, Jim had asked us also to add Westwood to West High. My understanding from Ken and possibly discussion he had with Jesse as well, that may not do that Westwood to West High. That was something we were going to design, and then the village was going to do it themselves. So the bid project will be just Spencerville to Westwood. That's what's included with the OPWC contract. The water tower, we finally received everything we need from the village last Friday. So we're going to proceed with design and site location on that. I forwarded that to our hydraulics people in our Bowling Green office today. So depending on how vacation schedules are this week, I'll try and get with them and see where we're at on getting that project back on track, back moving forward. And then the long-term control plan amendment. We were asked by Jim and staff to look at the Chicago Avenue drainage. The long-term control plan amendment estimate by HNTB was 28 acres flowing into Chicago Avenue area. They recommend put a large detention pond there, meter the flow out. We were asked to look at that, see if we can come up with a less expensive alternative for the village and submit that to EPA as an addendum to, or an amendment to that agreement. And what you see on here, the attachments, the first attachment is just a location maps for the street, but the second attachment is that write-up draft that I have for the EPA. I'll probably talk with Kent some more on that tomorrow now that he has a copy of it and a chance to go over it. But basically what we did was looked at the existing sewer lines on Westwood area. There's a 24-inch line that goes south. Our calculations show that it's less than 28 acres. It's more like 20.5 acres. We coordinated that with Defiance Water and Soil Conservation District, that existing sewer line can handle a 2-year storm event with very little overflow out of the existing structures. So rather than building a large detention pond, we believe we can just put in some additional storm sewer, get that away from the area. It's still going to stand a little while, especially on heavier storms, but it's going to give it a place to go and get rid of that problem. A lot less expensive than acquiring land and building a detention pond. So we'll coordinate that tomorrow with Village, just make sure everything looks all right, add a cover letter to it, and we'll get that onto the EPA for hopefully their approval or at least response. So that's kind of where we're at as Hogemeyer for projects we have going with you right now, so we can answer any questions that, like I said, anything that updates that you weren't aware of or that you'd like additional information on, I can try and provide that now.
Does anybody have any questions for Lee?
Just real quick, on the water line project for Chicago Avenue, I knew it was just halfway down Chicago Avenue.
Yes.
Would that be a project that in the future we could reapply for the OW or OPWC grants and
For
finish that project?
For the remainder, yeah, I mean, and Jesse could probably address that.
That was what I was planning on,
Yeah.
put all this together.
Right.
A lot on OPWC grants, is scoring, and the first part just provided, it's a whole list of breaks that you've had over the years, so it was real easy to verify that wire line needed replaced. So again, it's just looking at that and seeing if we can take it on with OPWC and go on from there. So
Now, that's not the village project you're talking about. Down at the bottom, the village project, Westwood to West High, is that feasible?
I don't think we're gonna do that.
No,
I mean, it's on there. Is that what you were talking about, or?
Right, well, I think in the past, they had talked about our people, our crews doing that, the initial
But-
part of it, but we won't be doing that.
Right, is that what you, okay. I just
Yeah,
want-
Jim had asked us to do the design for it so that your crews could install it as time.
Yeah, I don't think that's,
And that's kind of the feedback we're
okay.
getting now.
I just want to make sure that's what you were talking about, okay?
Appreciate you coming. Thank you very much.
Not a problem. Yeah, Mr. Rhodes.
I'm not fond of dumping into the Westwood storm sewer
Okay.
because of flooding that we're gonna create there.
Well, so the calculations we determined are looked at with the existing sewer line, the new catch basin on a 2-year storm. Granted, that's a very low-intensity
Yes.
storm, yeah. It would go 6 inches over the proposed catch basin, stay within the sewer lines on the rest of it. Granted, you're right, anything larger than that is going to compound it. Now, on the plus side, what's existing is pretty quick runoff. It's from front yards, driveways, roof lines, and street, gets in the storm sewer, gets out of the storm sewer before that additional 20 and a half acres all gets there. So, yeah, we use conservative on a time of concentration for the existing of 20 minutes, and it's probably a lot less, but we always start more like 15, 20 minutes just because you get tighter, it blows it all up. The proposed addition is something like 38 minutes till that water gets to the, from the further point gets to the system. But yeah, it's definitely an area of concern.
Yeah, and you know, here in the last few years, about the only kind of a storm event we have is 10-year minimum.
I
And,
understand that.
And I just hate to see any homeowner in that addition that's gonna start having flooded streets and stuff. I was wondering if, say in the post berm area that you're gonna have, couldn't we run an independent storm and go down past and hook into where that goes over to the creek?
We could, it's about 1,000 feet of storm sewer though, that's, yeah,
But we could do it, it wouldn't have to be traffic bearing, we could do it in plastics.
right, yes. Yeah, that's definitely an option, give it, it's completely own discharge location or discharge line and take out that way.
Was that one of the things we originally talked about to begin with, was running a storm line over to the sewer? That was one of our that was one of our options. And
I just, the complaints that we're gonna get from flooding that neighborhood is, and that neighborhood is, I don't know if it'll ever happen,
you
but
need to
it's
speak up then, because
was
I thought it
built, was
was.
designed to be built onto.
Oh, sure, definitely to the south, it dead ends there, and that 24-inch storm sewer,
Mhm.
I'm sure was put in to
And,
accommodate in the
and
future.
everybody cries that we need housing in this town. I think everybody needs to consider running an independent line to alleviate that flooding on the corner as opposed to tying into this.
Mhm.
That's just my opinion.
All right, well, we've talked about some other options, like within committee and the different people on board with this, is running it all the way up Chicago up to High. And there's a triangle up there with Arthur and Spencerville, and looking that whole section of town. A lot of that water is still getting into the system, where if we could run it up High somehow and divert it back towards Antwerp Drive, and or take it out toward, there's another storm just down in front of, I think it starts at the police department, getting more separation out of the system. Antwerp Drive, remember, was built to oversize, so when we add more to it down the road through
Not a
Spencerville,
lot of oversized,
pardon me,
but not a lot of
well,
oversized.
but to a degree it was oversized. So if we ever decided to run Arthur, Spencerville down to that corner, we had plenty of access and flow out. We said the same thing about this project, Chicago. I mean, Westwood, that 24-inch was an area where we could take it and be closer to anywhere else and not have like an impact
But
with the
that's-
streets.
In my opinion, that's kind of a Band-Aid. You're gonna take care of it for a few years.
Right.
It takes care of one problem and potentially creating
Creates
another,
And
or
I
bigger.
hate to just throw bad money, good money after bad. I think if we're gonna build this thing, let's build it right.
When we talked about, if we're gonna build it right, to me, or what we've talked about with the different people again, is to pour more water out of the system in that triangle area right there, Chicago, High, Spencerville, was to create a storm drainage to get to Antwerp Drive. And that would get all that water then out of our system, then alleviating hopefully phase 3 of the project, and that's that rapid treatment system that we do not want to build.
But you're taking, if you take all that area and go to Antwerp Drive, you just exceeded what that thing will hold. Why don't we go to the creek?
And we can't go that way with it, but, you know, to take it up at least to High and go one direction or the other, you know, to help alleviate it. But we still need to remember with the full phase of the project, I would like to take it up High. If we decide to go towards.
But if you go down and tie in at Antwerp Drive to Catholic Church, or anywhere in that corner, and then maintain a decent grade on the thing, 2% or whatever, by the time you get going past Jim Schmidt Ford, you're gonna be 40 feet deep. And we did a big in-service to the general public in this town when we didn't make it accessible to them to get in this one down here, Bryan Street and Beach and Main Street. That's, 20-some feet deep, 18 at the shallowest. There's nobody can put their e-spouts into that or their sump pump from their basement. That was not good of us. And I just don't want to see it happen again.
Just to back up just a little, the South Bryan Street design, they made that so if you ever wanted to separate Edgerton, Oak, Hicks, whatever, those lines will be able to tie into the south main line.
Right.
So instead of worrying about individual homeowners, they said if the village ever wanted to separate, that way their e-spouts and all that can run out to a storm line. The triangle you were talking about, back when Adam was still here.
Right.
We could have added that to phase 1, but it was gonna be like $1 million+ bucks.
Big bucks, right.
To run to High Street.
Right.
Nobody wanted to spend the money then. Back to this one, I don't know where this catch basin or whatever was gone. I guess I would need to know the location, whether I'm around or not. You guys would need to know the location and what properties it's gonna cut across and see what kind of easement issues you might have before you contact the EPA.
Could be a committee meeting about this then.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but if it's not gone into that Westwood 24, where is it gone? You might not be able to get access, I don't know.
Lee, would you and Mike Barth get together?
Yeah, I'll
as
give you a
chairman
call
of-
tomorrow and-
Chairman of the
Yep.
Water Sewer Committee, and
Yep, be
and
more
we'll
than happy.
have some more discussion about that project, okay?
Yep, that sounds good.
Jeff Rumpel's on vacation this week, but I'd be interested to have him talk to us too.
Yeah.
Solve it.
I'll put anything I'm doing.
That way everybody
Hold it.
can get caught up and on the same page.
Right, yep.
Thank you so much for coming. Do you have anything else for council that you want to?
This time, just good luck moving forward.
Oh, Ron has
Have we
something.
decided on the location for our water tower?
No, not
Have we got it narrowed down?
We've got an idea where it's gonna go narrowed down, but right until we look at all the flows and see, make sure it works in the location we've
Right,
narrowed down to,
right.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what-
Where's the location?
Looking at end of Industrial Drive,
Okay.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It's just as,
And the elevations will come out so that it sets, we can adjust the legs to set us the same height as our existing?
we'd like to do that one.
That would be
Yeah.
swell. That would be swell.
Yeah, you hate to have one empty all the time, but yeah, that,
Like we've done for the last 20 years?
right, that is definitely the intent that they'll work
Okay.
together. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Lee.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Okay. We will go on. There's a notice of public hearing in your council packets. The Hicksville Planning Commission will hold a public hearing on an application for a lot split on Thursday, July 12th at 6 PM at the Office of the Zoning Inspector, which is 108 North Main Street. The application submitted by Samuel Graber is a request to split lot 350 Auditor's Plat with the physical address of 370 Chicago Avenue. It's to split .157 acres. So if you have an interest in that, please show up.
We have an ordinance that says it has to be so many square feet,
Yes, I asked Mike Bailey that today, and he says, yes, we do.
and does this comply?
He told me it does.
Okay.
So, then we will go on to Next on our agenda is the Beautification Committee, met June 18th. So prior to the meeting, I printed off the Beautification Committee's minutes from their last meeting. And, so you have them as part of your packet. Don't know if you had time to read them or not, but just a bunch of information about what they keep busy doing.
I haven't read them yet or not, but I think the flowers around town look very, very nice. They're putting a lot of time and attention, and they look really good. Thank you.
Yeah. The Beautification is doing a great job. So then we will go on to the Planning Commission. They met June 21st. The minutes are in your packet. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss the application for a lot split submitted by Caduke Hillbrook LLC. The request was to split lots 38 of the Auditor's Plat with a physical address of 520 West High Street. So the lot split passed. I see that in the minutes. We go on to Nuisance Committee. The Nuisance Committee met and we put together a few properties that we wanted to have notices sent to. And Mike came in today and lined up a meeting, and I guess I'm the only one he told, because I asked Scott and Ron Beverly if they were told about it. Neither one of them were, so I guess I need to check the date on my office calendar to see when it is. And the purpose of that meeting is to follow up on the notices we're sending out from the other nuisance committee. And then we had a revolving loan committee meeting, and I am assuming the minutes are here on the table. So the revolving loan committee met with Dennis Miller of Maumee Valley Planning. And we had an application for funds from Lisa Laker, Interior Design. So the committee voted to approve the loan request. And so Troy will need to bring a resolution back or an ordinance back for council to pass or to consider. And then the loan documents will be drawn up. Anybody have any questions about that? It's going to be in the Durrell Hardware Building.
When will that happen, Troy?
Next meeting.
So then we're going to go on to council committee reports. The Personnel Committee met on June 20th and June 22nd. They met in executive sessions. The Ordinance Committee met June 21st. And the minutes are in the packet. I have to get all my own stuff organized. And so anyway, I guess does Personnel Committee have anything to report?
Just about Gary Shaw down on the park. He had asked to be salary because of the amount of overtime, and we decided to just leave him hourly and pay him the overtime.
Okay. The Ordinance Committee, did you have anything to report?
We did. The police chief wanted us to bring ordinance to have house numbers, and we decided against it.
That was me.
Oh, sure.
Chief's like, what?
What if he had asked for that?
Yeah.
I would agree that it'd be a good idea to have.
Yeah, you did. I think you did do that,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we had one on sound, I think that was you.
Yes, I asked for that.
And we've all voted yes to do that, to have an ordinance on that. And that's for vehicles only, though.
Right. I brought a draft.
Your neighbor,
I brought a draft tonight for the committee.
yes.
Sheila emailed that to me and we got it put together.
And an ordinance on the grass clippings in the roadway. We have one on that. We all voted yes for that.
I brought that tonight too.
Yep. And we went over to have the license on your bike, and we decided not to change that it is a good idea for lost or stolen.
Good.
And if I may, Sheila, I think we should stress, hoping that our local press We were asked to mandate people put their house number on their home. I think that's how Hitler got his start. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna mandate that you have to have a number on there, because if you just mandate it, you gotta have teeth in it, so then there's gonna be a fine, and that's bull. But it's to your advantage.
Yeah.
Get the numbers on your home so that the police, fire, EMS can find you. It is to your advantage as a homeowner. We will not mandate that you do it.
We weren't really forcing the issue on the license on the bicycles either.
Correct.
No, it
No,
was-
the license is
Leave it like
just
a-
another thing that's a good idea.
Yeah, if you want your bike back.
Yeah, yeah, and we sell a lot of them at the auction every year. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, going on to the Personnel Committee, met the 26th. Was that one also an executive session, I presume? Okay. And then the Water, Sewer, and Refuge Committee met,
It wasn't the 24th, that's a Sunday.
Sure we did.
That was the 25th. Met on the 25th.
25th, okay.
And those minutes are in front of you. I apologize that they are on your table tonight. I had lost my notes, but we were just kind of recapping some of the projects. Again, Defiance Avenue, pumps with Jeff, brought up, Jesse couldn't be at that meeting, but we were checking on the, not water control plant, but the water tower study. She's been working on that. About a week prior to that meeting, to get everybody on board, I asked Jesse to submit a quarterly report on what her and Troy have been doing around the area. She submitted that tonight, and that is on your desk. And also, they showed their, how many meters and radio reads they've been able to install. They're about halfway through the town. Over 600 have been installed. They're still working on the rest. I think they get an inventory of those. And that way, when they have time to get them done, they can go out and pull them and get to the residents, put them in the ground. So they've been working on that intermittently with their other projects. So we got to work with, I think, Mark Savage. We got to finish the project there between Clearview and the, that's the outflow pipe that Mark had dropped in the ground. We need to finish up with the grading, adding some more dirt and seeding. Mark did stress with his quote that he doesn't do the seeding work or straw. So he was gonna maybe take a look at somebody who could, or Jeff Frumpel was
Can I ask
interested
a
in
question
those
on
parts
that?
on that.
That just went through a woods, didn't it, an overbrush area? No? Is there some-
Right on, through the yard, yeah. I know Jerome had cleaned up his entire woods on his side, and then Shaw's recently had moved over into the house to their right. We had pushed some trees over into the Shaw property, it's woods, but he wanted to kind of do what Jerome had been doing with his woods. So I know AEP dropped a bunch of trees back there, it's a big pile, that's not our responsibility to remove, but I think they're gonna ask them to get them taken out of there. But I know after he dropped the tile in there and everything, it's pretty good size. It's kind of settled a little bit. This time of year, I don't know, it's always the more great time to put seed in. It's pretty dry sometimes, but I know they've been asked to finish that off. So, but yeah, it's all open area. We want to get that finished though. And I think that's it, unless anybody else has any other questions.
Mike, did you want to talk, remember we talked about the RCAP contracts, and I told you that I'd bring them today so that there could be further discussion about
Yes.
whether or not everybody was on the same page, wanted to move forward.
Right.
Or whatever, so I just didn't want you to forget.
Yep, the RCAP is, like we had discussed at council, for 85,000 total, not 65,000. The GIS system was 65.
65.
And the water assessment plan for the water department through EPA was 20. They're two different contracts, of course. The GIS system is for everything, storm, water, and sewer.
Correct.
That's for all three infrastructures within the community. They can break it down, and do them separately, or do two and not the other, but I think if they're out there in the field, if we want a top-notch GIS system for our infrastructure, we need to do them all.
And that's the 85.
That'd be, well, 65.
That's 65.
65. We thought the whole project was 65.
Right.
Everything, both of them.
GIS is 65, how do they describe the other one? The asset management plan is 20.
Which is gonna be mandated anyway.
Right.
It
That's the
already
main.
is for water.
Right.
That's what that is.
Right.
Right.
But we wanted to make sure it's 20,000 more than what we thought the total
Do
package
you
was
do you
for.
feel as though we should
I think
vote
it's gonna,
tonight and keep the wheels turning?
I think so. I mean, if we're gonna do, especially, we already know we gotta do the 20.
Well, here's the deal on the 20, it's small amount and it's a separate project. You could vote to approve that and that contract could be entered into without a resolution or anything.
Okay.
The 65 is over the 50 and
So
so,
didn't we already approve the 65?
well, we kind of informally, I actually brought because I thought you guys might want to, a resolution approving the 65 if somebody wants to amend the agenda and put it on for tonight, which Cheryl gave me a dirty look.
No way.
We amend the agenda and get this thing done and moving.
I'm trying to backtrack from that meeting. That $20,000, that was the assets management system for water.
That's correct.
Water only or sewer and water?
That's just water.
Water. So is there gonna be mandated where we have to do sewer?
They think eventually it will be that, but they don't have a cost on that right now.
I was gonna say,
They've
like,
done
we
that
did
for
them both
some,
at the same time.
I could ask her.
But once our GIS is done, it will be easy to do.
We have all your locations.
You could almost do it on paper.
75% of the information in the water asset management plan will be the same information, because it's bookkeeping things, it's things from this office over here. So it should not cost 20,000 when the sewer's mandated, because all that information will already be compiled, because it's ordinance information, it's financial information. It's really just compiling information we have in several different places. It'll already be put together for the water when the sewer mandate comes down.
I just thought if we could save money and combine them at the same time.
But we don't know
Right,
exactly
right.
what they're gonna ask on the sewer end.
Right.
We can sort of guess that it'll be along the water lines, but the water systems in the state are the guinea pig right now for this asset management.
Thanks, Jeff.
We have a motion on the floor.
On the 20,000, yeah, somebody, if they want, on the
I
asset.
made a motion to amend the agenda.
Okay, oh, there you go.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Ridgway,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Barth,
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes.
Bassett.
Yes.
Now I make a motion to accept this $20,000 water asset management.
I'll second.
Are you gonna rate it?
No, that's the one that doesn't need the resolution.
Oh, okay.
That's the $20,000
Gotcha.
one.
Did we have a second also? Did we do that? Okay, roll call, please.
Baker,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Ridgway,
Yes.
Bassett.
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes.
Barth.
Yes.
And I'll just read the other one when we do the rest of this.
But we need to officially pass it tonight,
Yes.
too.
Yes.
You want to pass it now?
Let's just do it when we do the rest of
Okay.
it, yeah.
Thanks for reminding me about that.
No problem.
Okay, anything else then for water, sewer, and refuse?
Unless they have any other questions.
Thank you for your work, Magna.
Thanks.
So Kent Miller has been asked to step in to do some administrative work at the administrator's office. And so he is here with a report for you tonight of things that he is working on and feels necessary for you to know about. So Kent, you either need to go to the podium or come up and sit down and talk to us.
Come up here, buddy.
Lot, 'cause I'm not actually. I guess I'll start. Did everybody get my email from Friday?
Yep.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I just sent a little update then,
What all we found.
just because people are a little curious about where some things stood.
Oh, yes, I did.
Maybe some of the other stuff, if we're going to talk about in executive session, that's fine. As far as what's actually going on, Lee covered the CDBG project, and I was going to mention they've got to get that manhole and catch basin dug up hopefully next week, so it's settled before.
One is being done tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay. There again, I've not been telling people what to do or any of that stuff. I'm just in there shuffling papers and trying to go through emails. I do have the park restroom paving. It's confusing, but Val did say the bollards are gone up this week, so
Well,
that,
he's supposed to come and look, yeah.
so they should be in before it's paved.
Who's doing that?
Jeff Peters.
As I was going through all the stacks of papers, I found a quote from Loop to do the paving that was signed back on June 15th. Later on, I found one from a company in Fort Wayne that's got nothing on it. I also had a phone message from a third company in Fort Wayne that had gotten a letter to quote on it, but they didn't know what the project even was, so I said I'd call him back tomorrow. I talked to Steve Loop. I said, did Jim ever get this back to you since it was signed dated 15th? He goes, no. Okay. So I guess, are you okay with Loop's? 'Cause I
Yeah,
said,
didn't
I
we
don't
talk
have
about,
power
wasn't there
to
like a
decide
$60 difference in the price between Loop and it was like BJ
Mm-hmm.
Construction over in Fort Wayne?
Rounded off, it's about 250. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just ballpark and looking at these
Yeah.
two.
For some reason, sounds familiar.
I mean, since it's signed by,
It was 29,000.
I'll just
Yeah,
scan it back.
but there was
That's what
close,
you
so
wanna
close
do.
between the two, and I thought we decided to go to Loop.
So what was the price, the Loop's total price?
29,516.
So we don't need to vote on it, just give you the okay to do it. Give them-
Well, no, it's already signed. I just didn't know if you still wanted to,
Sure.
if you're okay with it. I
I'm
said-
okay with it.
Yeah.
The one thing I've said before was, the concrete bollards, I know you want them to go in right away, but it's a lot better to have the machine going in there laying the asphalt and then trying to have all those bollards in the way and then
Tamp
shoveling
it.
down and hand tamping all the
But
blacktop.
Hopefully you're gonna put those bollards tight against the concrete approach.
I don't know, location wise.
Supposed to look when it comes
That
in.
comes-
I know Loop
Five or six
says that it'd be a lot smarter to have them done after the asphalt was done than it would be
No,
to do
it
it
wouldn't be
beforehand.
smarter. It would be easier
It'd be easier,
for him.
well, you get a better product too.
No, you don't.
I don't know, I think a machine laying asphalt compared to somebody
The
hand
machine will
tamping.
not lay asphalt against that concrete, not from a start
I don't know the
point,
location of the bollards though either.
right across the face of it.
So Kent, I think your answer is to the contract is, the paper signed with Loop, use them. I believe that's,
Like I said, I don't have any power.
Any
to do
objections?
anything.
Yeah, nope.
So, okay, since it was signed or whatever. Let's get that out of the way. The answer's probably no, but before I follow through whether I'm back or not, do you know, did anybody get contacted about the fence back here that you know of?
Yes.
Do you know if he contacted anybody yet?
No, he didn't, I did.
Who'd you talk to?
Arrow. I'm just waiting for them to
They put in the.
I would've gone with Zachary, because they're the ones that put it in, they'll have, I think they even ordered extra panels.
That's okay, Arrow didn't
Last
answer
time.
me anyway. I haven't sent them pictures, but they didn't answer
I
me,
would go
so.
with Zachary's, because that's who we've used the other 4 times it's been hit. So if you're okay with it, I'll get with him tomorrow to at least. I'm pretty sure they said last time it got hit, they ordered some extra panels since it gets hit so often.
That's what you said.
So, okay, so I'll get with them regardless of what else is going on. To clear up some confusion on Denon Drive, and you and I talked about it, I left my file back there. It was not gonna be $250,000 to redo Denon. I'd gotten 2 quotes. One was to tear out all the cement, put curbs back in, the curb and gutter, and asphalt the street. That was gonna be, with some of the engineering thrown in, around 125. The second option was to go back to all cement, tearing everything out, putting all back in, and that was around 160. So I think he was combining the two, coming up with 250. I've talked to James, and I wasn't a big fan of trying to go in and piecemeal in that cement, because he's not sure where it's gonna stop and start once you start taking panels out, which is gonna drive your cost up if he's gotta do more than what he's doing. And in a couple of years, you're gonna go back down and tear out what he didn't tear out and be piecemealing that in. I'd recommend sticking with the asphalt street, but there again, I'm just passing on, the price tag wasn't as high as you were thinking, so you can think about that. Because that's nothing that's gotta be done right away.
So we can send that to the street committee?
Yeah, if they wanna relook at it, that's their call.
Does it need to be looked at?
Well, it depends, before they line, or, see, I don't think James was lined up to start anything yet.
Did he ever give you a price?
I've not seen anything.
Okay, Ron, this is your committee, okay? All right.
I want to go back and add something real quick I forgot to bring up. The other thing is sewer related. And when Lee was talking, I talked to him just a little bit beforehand because I wasn't sure what Pogemeyer was doing on the long-term control plan. So you guys have been talking about just replacing the pumps down there at Defiance Avenue.
Correct.
Upsizing, right?
Yeah, but if you read through what the EPA wants, and I've not found a whole lot of stuff yet from Andy Call. So, I mean, dude, I don't know if I'm ever gonna find everything we need to find. But it spelled out exactly what we were supposed to be doing. I think before you stick any pumps in, whether I'm back or not, I'm just passing this on.
Right.
I wouldn't be doing anything to there until you figure out the long-term solution to that plant, run it past them and get their blessing. I've got a feeling, because I think Andy even wants to see a PTI for new pumps. If one email I did find, and that's just dumb. Because somebody's gonna have to put together all these drawings and whatever to get approved. But I'm just afraid, even if they upsize the pumps, which I know they won't have to be pulling them all the time, which is a pain, it might be a waste of money for what you still have to do to that station.
Right.
Because it spells out the force main, which I disagree with. I mean,
And
this came back from Adam, which goes way back. Not Adam and Eve.
I think we also,
Way back. But I mean, it spelled out that we're gonna put a force main in, we're gonna build a new lift station.
Correct.
And blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
I'd hold off buying anything.
and I think we know we don't want to do that. I think a lot of people agree.
Oh,
that
yeah, I don't think the
that's-
force
But
main is
I think it was
necessary.
recommended that they change the pumps out with the bigger pumps to us on the sewage committee, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, the, Jeff and Austin were down there pulling, the
Oh, yeah.
rams were getting into the pumps, they were pulling them. The electrical system down there is shot, they said, so it's kinda dangerous. They were trying to get to a new system where maybe the pumps were gonna have all those issues with that debris coming into them, but we reiterated, if you're gonna upgrade the pumps now, you better make sure that they're sustainable enough that we have to do and we don't wanna do the force main. But again, nothing is verbal with EPA, they wanna see engineering data to,
Well, yeah, you're gonna have
Back
to
it up.
convince them just like you're doing with
Right.
Chicago.
we verbally said that to them, just like Chicago, and said, we don't really wanna do that, and it's a they say, he says, they,
Well,
back and
see,
forth.
one thing that's spelled out in the permit, Ron's favorite flow metering fee agreement, and that's forever, Ron, so just get over it.
Get over it.
I'm just saying, and, yeah, that's gonna be forever, I have a feeling. But the work done to the lift station is supposed to be based on all that flow metering data. So just buying bigger pumps, yeah, it's gonna solve an immediate problem, but is it also gonna help? Because it talks about you still need a grinder, screening baskets and blah, 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 with, and at one point I'd also heard you might have to lower the wet well depth. So while I know pulling those pumps is a real pain, if people just cooperate, we wouldn't have to do that. I just hate to see it, because I don't know how much these pumps are gonna cost.
Well, we're kinda getting to the information from the guys that they're on their last leg, they're gonna sooner or later just die. And if we just had to replace the pumps, because
Well-
we don't have those studies done
Just
to
did
do
one,
everything
didn't
else.
We rebuilt Trident. They were doing that right after I left.
Jesse, do you know how many, if they had to pull the pumps last week at all?
I can't swear to that, though I know it has been a couple times each week.
I
There's
know-
a real problem on Defiance Avenue with things in the line that should not be in the line. And as Mike alluded to, there's also an electrical problem. So I know part of some of the repairs they were talking about doing now because we're gonna have to hire somebody, at least an electrician. There are bare wires, and it's causing an issue, a safety issue, if nothing else. So you're either gonna have short-term money and long-term money. Jeff was trying to make one money also be long-term money, but maybe can't not to the letter of the permit you're talking about. I can't speak to that, and I can't swear how many times they were down there last week. It has been,
I know they pulled it twice the week before, but I don't know if they had to pull them last week.
and I can't swear to that. I just know it's been at least twice every week because there's a real problem with things going in the system down there that should not be in the system.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't even take much rain at all to pull pumps down there. I mean,
Yeah, it's,
just based on the stuff that gets washed in. I mean, it might be something to look at. I just thought I'd,
Well, that was my
Pass that out.
concern at the
Well-
last meeting, because I wondered if we were gonna change things that were not going to go along with our long-term control plan.
and unless I can find something where Andy did spell out exactly, yeah, if you do that, we'll take a look at it. But I haven't found that.
No, and we had a
You guys
meeting
have
with
seen
them
it.
2 months
I don't
ago
know.
down in the village offices, and Jeff was talking to them about that whole situation. And they're like, well, that's what's in here now, we gotta show data, we gotta show an engineering study to see what you wanna do different, to see if it can encompass that. Same thing with Chicago Avenue, they wanted to see engineering work done on it and spend more money on that. What verbal doesn't change the long-term control plan, so I've asked Jeff to stay on top of what EPA wants, like you said, and spend, if we have to spend the money now, do it so we don't have to spend the money later and replace the same pumps. That doesn't make any sense to me, if we had to change the pumps around,
The only
if
thing,
that's feasible.
I don't know what the pumps were and I don't know what the electrical costs were. But here again, I'm talking like I'm not existing, okay? I'll kind of talk like if I was still around, this is what I'd be telling you. I hope they don't piecemeal it, because Cheryl will get dinged for that. I don't know, say if the electrical's 25, and I have no idea what it would cost. And if those pumps are like 40 or whatever, well, you're over the bid threshold. So they're up, I don't know who's been doing what on that, but there's just some things they might need to check
What I could do
before you
is,
spend money.
I could ask Jeff, since he's kind of working on the project, to stay in contact with Andy, tell him what they're looking at maybe doing and possibly doing, bring it, and have the committee look at it over again, and we'll have a committee meeting right next time before council.
But was Andy down here? Has he been down here?
They did a walkthrough when they were here,
I don't
well, they
know.
were here, like I said, it was probably, I can't remember when they were in the office.
May 19th.
Was it May? So it's been some
Oh, that
months.
late in the year.
But they did a walkthrough on some things. I mean, they walked out Chicago and they drove them around town a little bit, but,
Well, see, I've been out of the loop. on
right, I
that
know
stuff,
that. But
so-
they were here in town and we talked to them about these projects and the change of scope on them, so.
And
They
I
wanted to
s-
see numbers.
other than, I said, for stuff you want to talk about, otherwise I'll deal with that. And I'm only bringing this up, Jesse, because I guess the mayor and I had talked today. Did you indicate to council that they talked about other vehicle purchases and whatnot in general? Because I guess we have a water pickup truck on its way, is what I'm just passing on to you.
To replace yours?
For about
Mhm.
Got a
44,000
gas
plus.
engine in it.
yep.
Well, the only thing that kind of bothers me is the contingency line item only had 35,000 in it, and they ordered a 44,000 plus truck.
No, we looked at that before and it had plenty in it.
The water contingency line
It
item?
said 70, I spoke with Cheryl
Well, I
before we
hope I
did
looked
it.
wrong when I hope so. I hope I am wrong.
I went right to the source.
I thought I
before we
looked
did
at
any of
that latest budget thing tonight, but, okay.
Well, let's
Jesse, is
see.
that rolling down the road, or you gotta go put a body on it somewhere?
It's the, both are on order.
They'll have to take it to Clyde.
But that's a price, not a couple prices.
No, it's two
32
separate
and
orders, 2
12.
separate vendors.
The total is 44. Hmm?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I kind of inferred that council wasn't in the mood to be buying more vehicles. That's the only reason I brought it up. I didn't know it was even until I found this.
Did we just spend $6,000 on that truck, your truck?
Something like that.
So anyway.
Well, I guess you're aware of it. If you weren't aware of it, you're aware of it now. And I did not speak to anybody about it when you did it.
Well, it's already been ordered, so I don't think you can do much about it, but at least you're aware of. Otherwise, that's pretty much it, unless you have questions, I'll try to answer what I might know. I said, I got all the papers separated, filed the best I could. I won't guarantee some other files aren't gonna be goofed up because I didn't go through every single thing. The stuff that was out, I think I got put where it should be.
Thank
I
you.
got to share do it while it was wet. I'm fuzzy on the details just because I've not been around.
But,
But
you know,
is AEP
whatever,
coming back to do them?
I don't know.
I heard that they were, it wasn't AEP, it was
Well, that
contractor.
Ken Myers or,
No, they're doing the fiber project. It's,
No, it'd be that company that
Asplund.
trims trees.
Yeah, it was them.
yeah. That's the one.
Karen Evel from EPA called her 2 weeks ago. She said they were putting the last 2 poles in, they were gonna get the subcontractor in once everything's settled. Well, the other poles are all settled, these 2 aren't.
It's dry enough
Yeah.
now.
I
So-
tried to call her before the meeting tonight, because I called her last week, she didn't respond, left her voicemail, called her again today, again, she didn't answer, left her voicemail again. I would like to have a pinpoint date of when that company's coming in to finish it off. We've been
They're all
patient.
in now, so.
Right, she knows they've all been in, but she's like, well, now we gotta let things settle.
And
I
they
was like,
work,
you know
yeah.
what,
Well, one
two-
didn't, but anyway.
But I am trying to stay on top of that, calling her directly. It's a number I got directly through EPA to find out a
I was
date.
gonna say, all the people that worked for AEP back during that project when I was around, they're all gone. So I
Right,
wouldn't
they've
even
all
move
moved
to
out.
call without going through that call center and then waiting for 3 weeks to get a call back.
The time she did call back, she says the other 2 are scheduled to be put in. They did it
They're in.
within a couple days of her calling, but then she said, we gotta wait till everything's settled.
Well,
and
a
then
lot of that
we'll
was
find out."
structural board that was just put in, so
But I
it's just a
will-
little patch, so it's ready.
I will
It's
call
settled.
her relentlessly to see when they can give us a physical date of finishing the project. They've been patient, it's been a long time.
Ken, thank you for
Yeah,
your time
thanks, Ken.
stepping up and doing this
You're
for
gonna be out
gratis
digging up
and
paper drive.
helping us through this.
Okay.
You the
They
man.
got.
Thanks,
Cajun
Ken.
line.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Kip.
They're done with paper. They've got the fiber in.
Oh, it's done?
Okay, we'll go on to the solicitor's report.
Okay, I got 2 things. I got second reading in 2018-09 by caption only, a resolution of the Village of Hicksville, Ohio, authorizing the village administrator to sell property no longer needed for public use pursuant to revised code 721.15. And then resolution 2018-10, which would be a first reading by caption only, a resolution for the Village of Hicksville, Ohio to enter into a contract with WSOS Community Action Commission for GPS data collection and GIS mapping of the village's public water, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer systems and declaring an emergency. I'm the only one that
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's the one that I brought just.
I thought it was just me.
I brought just in case because I knew Mike wanted to talk about the argument that we added to the agenda. That's the thing that we added if somebody wants to. And I got the contracts here if anybody
Who gets this?
If anybody wants to look at it, I'll need it back for the second, third reading. I'll do
Do
that.
we need to pass that as an emergency?
Do everything else emergency.
We're gonna have to get somebody to employ them first, aren't we?
Well, like I said, Roberta's been patient. She's just asking if we get it passed, they're gonna put it on their schedule to start to work on both the contracts, so.
Then I move to suspend the rules and get this passed.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Baker?
Yes.
Bassett?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Beverly?
Yes.
Barth?
Yes.
Ridgway?
Yes.
Second and third readings of resolution 2018-10 by caption only, a resolution for the Village of Hicksville, Ohio to enter into a contract with WSOS Community Action Commission for GPS data collection and GIS mapping of the village's public water, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer systems and declaring an emergency.
I so move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ridgway?
Yep.
Jones?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Bassett?
Yes.
Beverly?
Yes.
Barth?
Yes.
And the only other thing, I gave those other resolutions to the ordinance committee today that they had asked me to prepare just to review, and if they got comments or whatever, if not, we can bring those back at the next meeting. On the list, I also gave Cheryl the original of the Sherwood income tax collection contract. There was a couple of typos that we revised, but that's the original that's ready for signature. This takes care of our cap. I think this pretty much takes care of everything. on
Which
the
committee did you give sample ordinances to?
list. The ordinance committee, 3 of them
Okay.
today.
So I assume before they're brought to the entire council,
Right.
we'll all get to see them.
Well, they'll tell me if they want, if they're what they wanted, and then I'll prepare them, and then I'll send them in to get put on the agenda, and everybody will have copies.
Okay.
So I'm just giving Cheryl, these are the 2 originals of those contracts, and I'll email you tomorrow with the email version of that. That's all I have there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have department heads. Chief Stickney?
Good evening. Chief's report, as usual, will be at the second meeting of the month. I do have one thing to bring up. At budget time, I brought up that we had stuff on the agenda for this year's budget that was presented to the budget committee, and at that time I also told them that we would use, with approval, use the amount of money that was set aside for purchase the car for 1 year to purchase body cams and tasers. That was okay, I thought, at that time. Went ahead and got the contract around for the body cams and thought I was okay to do it. And we had the village administrator, of course, resigned, and I was told to get it to the mayor to get them signed. I did that, and then I'm told that that's not what I should have done. So I'm not sure exactly where I stand in my understanding of the budget with what I'm supposed to do.
And that was for all 8, right, officers?
That was for 8, the full-time, yes.
Okay, now I'm on that committee, I remember that, but is there any way if you could order maybe half of them or 2? What's the
Well,
advantage?
the cost of the body cameras themselves, the individual units, is not that much. It's about $400 a piece.
Okay.
So only ordering half as many doesn't really save you a lot of money. It saves a little bit. Included in the price of this is not only the cost of the initial body cameras themselves, but also things like the docking station, cables to the hookup, insurance on everything, which includes, like, if we run one with a car, it gets replaced for free. Okay, that's included in the cost. It also includes the storage of data, the software that allows you to go in and edit the data. In other words, if you take a video of something, not everybody is supposed to be identifiable on that video because they weren't necessarily involved. Excuse me. So it allows it to be pixelated out. That company has the software that allows you to do that relatively easily, so that an officer can do it instead of having to have some company do it for you. The initial cost for the first year was $14,485.
I think we budgeted 15, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
That was the ballpark figure. It was going to be real close. And then after that, there's for the next 4 years, it's $5,160 to include the cost of the insurance and this data storage and the software use and all that. That, of course, wasn't put in this year's budget because that's for the next 4 years.
Now, is these cameras run all the time, or they have to manually?
These cameras are recording. That's a kind of a tricky question to answer properly. They're recording all the time, but they don't save the information they're recording until they're activated. So there is you can set them to have a 2-minute backup, anywhere from 0 to 2 minutes, or 120 seconds backup. So if you miss something and something happens, you can hit the button and it backs up and takes that whatever time you set it for and says, so it is recording all the time, but it doesn't save the recording for everything, if that explains it properly.
Okay, I was just curious.
Right.
I reached out to the chief because I had some concerns on it, or maybe the way we do stuff here at the village. I'm newer, so.
And so
I've never been on the finance committee, never taken part of, I was on the park board president. We filled out budgets and we put them in there for the finance committee. But when I'm on the police, fire, and EMS committee and I find out that it's already been ordered and signed, I thought the committee should at least be in favor of it. Just like tonight, we find out there's a truck ordered. No one knows anything about it. I mean, big ticket items like that, I think we should all be aware of ahead of time. Not 3 people that sat on the finance committee at October last year that has nothing but numbers and requests from every department and everything, just yep, and then just go ahead and order. And as the year goes on, needs and wants change, and, we'll make sure it's a need, not a want.
And I think it's a good idea. I talked to Mike and the mayor tonight that maybe the fire and police committee ought to look at the budgets before it comes to finance. I think that'd be a great idea.
Oh, and I'd be absolutely in favor of that. I just
It's never been
would
done.
like
It's
to
all
know.
been the
Exactly.
finance,
I would just
and
like
we
to
do
be.
cut a lot. Really do. We sit down. and
What's
Well-
going to be done to resolve this problem?
To,
We either,
Like, no offense, but like the tower truck, we found out after it's already ordered and
Right.
sitting here in the garage, and
yeah, the committee okayed it, yes. Yeah, that's true.
there's just a lot of big, I don't know what you consider a big ticket item, but, something like that, I think council should be approving items like that.
And my little concern right now is just looking at the general, what do you call that, general budget?
general fund.
General fund, and it's like, wow, in the last 6 months, it's really dropped. So that's why putting up a few red flags. I think
We've had
there's
three or
been,
four.
there've been a lot of expenses, and I think we're down to $600,000 in the general budget, and we like to carry over $1 million, so.
We
General
have 3 or
fund.
4 PFE meetings, and we've talked paramedic programs, we've talked
Yep.
tower truck, we've talked K-9 units, we've talked about multiple items.
Right.
And not one time ever, the word body cam ever got brought up all year long.
But it
Until
was,
I find
it was
out
in the.
it's already ordered.
the Finance committee looked at that as a general, what do you call it,
I guess I
capital,
wonder-
yeah, it's in there, capital
But when you-
projects.
When you put in the $14,000 to buy them, did you realize there was gonna be a $5,000 maintenance
don't
fee
remember.
every year
I'd have
after?
to
I mean,
go look back
I
in
signed
the
a
notes.
contract for $35,000 for body cameras. I was really, I didn't know who knew about it, but when I talked to him, I suggested getting 2. Why don't we just get 2? Because there's only 2 officers on duty at all the time.
And
So-
that's just not practical.
Well, and the number one, and I think I explained this to Diane, the pros and cons of the body cam, the number one con is the expense and the added storage and all of that, because it does on its face people that argue for them, and I've been to some continuing educations where it comes up a lot in the Cincinnati, Columbus, or they all have them, obviously. And the sheer expense that it added in places like that, they had to add employees just to review the footage for the things he's talking about that have to be redacted, can't be shown to people, and then they have to physically do the redacting, and then they have to store it, and they have a policy on how long do they have to store it for. Usually about 90 days is the, somewhere in that range, so that a guy like me that's prosecuting the case can say, hey, do you have body cam footage of that whatever, OVI, whatever that happened? Yeah, we got it. So then it's got to go over here, get to me somehow. It's got to be redacted so that if I have to give it to a defendant, an attorney, or whatever, and on our side, I mean, it's going to cost money like that $5,000 for us. The bigger you go, the more cameras you got, you can imagine how much more astronomical the expense is. But that's always been the number one argument against things like the body cam, is the extra man hours and the extra expense involved. And it's not the $400 a unit to get the things, it's everything that goes with it. So.
You just need an answer, but it's too late. You've already got them ordered, it's already been signed, right?
We can, you guys decide you don't want us to have body cameras. I'm not saying it can't be canceled. It probably could be. That's something that I know that you can, if in future years the money's not available to do it, you can cancel the contract. I know that's a clause that's in there.
I'm not saying I'm against it or for it, I was just
Yeah.
curious to be nice to know ahead of time. I mean, you
We're
guys
on the
budgeted.
finance committee now, so you'll know.
But then,
I
there's
just-
only 3 of us, there's other ones like Larry that's not, that we're not.
All the
Maybe an extra.
all the meetings are open meetings.
Yeah, they
Anybody
are.
can
And all
come.
the department heads do come.
And I know I gave everybody a copy of the budget.
We had 3.
But
Why not?
Numbers. Well, you can't.
It's an open meeting.
Not to a committee meeting.
Yes, they're all open.
They can't talk.
You can't
They
talk.
ask questions or
You can
anything
sit in
else.
the back.
So
Have you ever been to one?
Well,
Yeah.
But
Like that never
was in the
happens.
final budget, the capital projects that you're talking about.
and that's
We've
always
had-
been a concern. That's always been a concern because just because mean, it's one of those things where they budgeted for it, that means if I'm a department head that I can get it, and the committee that's in charge of your department may not know, hey, we're getting ordering this fancy piece of equipment, well, we don't think you need that. Once it's already in the budget, so it's on the way, type of thing.
So what did we decide?
So let me get this straight. It's 14,000 up front.
$14,485.
The cameras, the software, the cords.
Everything to get us up and running and all that stuff for the
You
first
added the
year.
additional,
There's an additional, in the next 4 years then, to round out the 5 years, it's $5,160 per year.
So that would be
includes the
budgeted
cost.
for 19,
That would be
20.
next year's budget, yes.
right now you're just asking for the 14 something.
Well,
Well, it's in
I
his
already
budget.
had the
It's in his
14,
budget.
it was already approved.
Sure.
I'm not sure exactly what I'm supposed to be doing
Well-
right now, whether I'm asking you to approve what was already approved as a council, what was in my budget, or I'm not sure exactly what this is.
Correct.
Because I can also tell you that in the future, I think it would be a good idea, and I'd be more than happy to go through and be more detailed on the list of things. I've already talked to Cheryl briefly about us having a 5-year plan, which would show expenses like the additional years for that. This is the first time I've had to submit a budget of any kind. I was doing it basically like it had been done before. And I would agree that it ought to change somewhat, at least, in the details that are provided.
Cheryl, yes, we do get a budget, but all it is numbers. It doesn't say what any of that capital.
I think it
That's
does.
some detail, some of it.
It does.
I have my notes.
Projects.
All for the finance committee.
They don't have, the state patrol does, yes.
All you see is
They
capital
have cameras in their
projects.
cars. They don't have the body cams.
Cams, that's what he's talking about. That needs to be in there.
Here's our appropriation.
They do not.
I mean, there is nothing on there that
The
says
Paulding County
specifically
Sheriff's
what it
Department.
That's not the budget.
Because when
Just
they
like
did
the
that
park.
deal with
The
that
budget
TV
is an
show where
Excel
they came to cover
spreadsheet.
that one guy getting retried for the murder or whatever a couple years ago. Part
And
of
that's
that
what I gave
deal is
everybody.
They
looked at
offered
it before I
grants to
came
law
in.
enforcement for being on the show, and that's how the Paulding County Sheriff's Department was able to get the body cams. To the best of my knowledge, they're the only ones around here, maybe.
So
I
I-
don't know if
So we
Toledo has them or not.
don't need to vote on this, right? Or in case somebody doesn't want you to cancel?
I think the point is in the future,
What?
when we have,
Finance committee, and it was in the budget, so I was just asking for future.
Yeah.
For
Well,
all
I'm not
departments, not
saying
just.
how you're supposed to answer, but he needs an answer, yes or no.
Yes, I agree.
well, I
I think what
believe,
Eric's saying is he doesn't need an answer because it's already in the budget, but in the future, he doesn't want it to already be in the budget without.
But he got questioned on it, told him he was doing something wrong.
I thought everybody should be aware of what's going on before we have that purchase, yes. So, okay. You're
So,
going forward with your body cams.
okay.
Sorry about the confusion.
No, I
Hopefully
apologize, because like I said, I'm,
New to me both, so.
like I said, he said this is first time, and this is the first time for me, so I'm asking for clarification. I hope that before we go up with our next budget presentation, that we get more feedback as department heads as to exactly what you guys want for the budget, so that I don't have to ever.
A 5-year plan would be great.
That'd be fine.
That'd get us
And
started.
itemization, a better itemization would be better, I'm sure.
I think it'd be wise for the department heads to work with the committees in preparing that budget. That way the committee knows any
Yes.
large expenses.
That's what needs to
I
happen.
think that's what Ron's suggesting.
That's
that
what needs to happen.
Committee heads go through it first. Sounds good. Do you have
It'd be
any?
just the police and fire, really,
Right.
basically.
And any-
That'd be the only,
We have park.
Well, we have park and it happened at park. We bought, they bought.
Tractors complained about purchasing new.
But
Sure,
the
after
park-
the fact.
does know about it.
And I had the park board.
The part, you submit the budget, so
Yeah.
you do know about it.
Sure.
Where you
But when
guys,
when we questioned the park, well, we questioned the tractor's purchase. I said, come to the finance meeting. We want to know the why
Yep.
and what for. So we did.
yep, I think it's a great idea. That's what's gonna happen next year, this fall.
Okay,
Do you have
Thank you,
anything
Ron.
else for us?
yes, our AC is working.
Just in time.
Julie's happy.
Absolutely, absolutely, I'm sorry.
That made Julie happy.
Probably already.
I hope so. I think it makes everybody happy, but
Probably
anyway.
already broken.
Okay, if there are any other questions? No? Thank you very much.
Just so we talked
Yes.
about real quick on the phone with the park, the locks to
The
the
locking,
bathrooms.
yes.
The police department's an interior push-button lock. They don't need a key. They can go and lock it from the interior, shut the door, every evening, and then Val and Gary said that they would stop by in the mornings and open it when they come to work. If they were out of town, that they would make arrangements with somebody else to unlock the bathroom doors. So that's kind of where we got with that.
Even on weekends? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Are the police officers doing anything about the parking at the park, right beside the no parking signs in the grass?
If they would call us and let us know if they are parked there, we would be happy to do it.
They'll go down through there, they got to see.
Well, I'm not,
Not you. but
Okay.
I see it.
okay.
So, you know we want that
It's
enforced.
going, yep.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll go on to the fire chief.
I don't have anything unless there's questions.
Does anybody have anything for Scott? Nothing? Okay. And then the EMS chief?
Unfortunately, I do.
Got several things tonight. First of all, I'd like to present for consideration a new EMT. Her name is Kelly Four, F-O-O-R. She lives over on Defiance Avenue. She called me up and said, "Hey, are you looking for any EMTs?" And I said, "No, not really." But she is going to be taking the class next week. I've already talked to Cheryl about how we can pay for it. She's already signed her one-year contract pending council approval. So I would like to get her approved tonight.
Is that Bob's daughter?
Bob Bailey, yes.
Has she done it before?
No. No, what she does is she is a crisis counselor, plus she's a drug and alcohol counselor, and she also does property management for a property in Defiance.
I guess I was writing down her name, but is she an EMT?
No, she's
Okay.
she starts her class next week,
Okay.
which would put her about 6 months out. But like I said, I had talked to Cheryl earlier and asked, if we could pay for it. She said, yes, there's money for us to pay for it.
Do we need to actually pay for a drug screen and everything since she's going to school? I mean, I've been down this route so many times where we've paid for all that stuff and then they don't come through. So I guess I'm wondering, is there any way we can do all that after she's completed her training and passed?
School requires a physical. So we don't have a choice, we have to get a physical.
She has to get a physical to go to school?
Yeah.
Well, I would recommend that we hire Kelly Four and pay for her drug screen and her physical and her everything else, training and background check.
Pay for per our agreement, she pays us back if she leaves.
And she has already
It's
signed
only for the
that.
training, it's only for the cost of the schooling that typically they have to pay us back for, not the all the
And
other
the rest
stuff.
of it's our requirements for employment.
So,
I support the mayor's recommendation.
Second.
roll call, please.
Baker?
Yes.
Bassett?
Yes.
Johns?
Yes.
Beverly?
Yes.
Ridgway?
Yep.
Barth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I got one question.
Yes.
How about the other two that we send to class, how are they doing?
Okay,
Oh, just spit it out.
all right, so they both took the test and both did not pass the first time around. One is taking her test again next week, and she's excited because something happened. She was gone for a little bit, and something happened to kind of get her spark back, and so she's been studying, and she'll do much better this time around. The other one is on maternity leave, so we're looking at when we can get her back into the test area.
Be a good time to retest while you're on maternity leave.
When does our
Good time to
maternity
study
leave
it,
end?
Maternity leave should end around September 1st. I do have some information EMT Drew Ward has taken the advanced EMT class and has passed the national registry, so he is now an advanced EMT. We just have to wait for the state to recognize him as such, and then he can start doing IVs and things like that. So,
Great.
congratulations to Drew.
That's great. Yep.
I gave you tonight several things to look at. First of all, the June 20th, June 2018 runs and run locations. We had 38 runs last month. It was kind of a slow month. Actually, when I was putting this together, I said, how did we have 38 runs? It just didn't seem like that. As you can see, the majority were here in the village. We did have one mutual aid call. The next thing that I have given you is a report that I have pulled from our emergency report. This is a response time per incident for the first 6 months of the year. What this does is it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt why we're next door, Monday through Friday. Recently, we've had 2 mutual aid calls to Antwerp. One was actually today. When we can be in a squad, out the door, and en route within 30 seconds, that's a good thing, especially when somebody's having the problem that was being had today. You look through these, and you see EMS calls, turnout time, 1 minute, 21 seconds. 1 minute. You start going farther back, and you'll see a lot of zeros, which means that we're pretty much going out the door when they're paging us out. That is a great thing. And I think that the village residents and the people that we protect should know that we are here and that we do have a very timely response. You can go through that, and if you have any questions, you can feel free to call me or stop by. You know, I'm still waiting. The next things. So far this year, I have billed $77,315. Will we get $77,315? No, but I have billed that. That is all of 2018 and some of 2017. Bob, myself, John, and April, and even Ron Jones, we went through the 2015, 2016 bills like we said before. We have identified these that need to be wrote off because these were bills that were Medicare, Medicaid, and I separated them out because I figured that somebody might ask for separation, you know. As you can see, 2015, we're going to be writing off $56,188.20. In 2016, we're going to be writing off $20,278.20. I still have, as of last Friday, I identified a lot of bills that were self-pays that either, I don't know what happened, but a lot that were self-pays that I will be sending back out. 2017 bills that for some reason Medicare never received are being sent out. That will be finished this week, and I can have those numbers for you at the next council meeting. But I'm looking at approximately, from 2017, approximately about $25,000. So just want to let you know where we're at.
So from 15 to the end, you want to write off 100,000.
Well, I want to be able to write off the two numbers that I have here tonight, 56,188.20 and the 20,278. So approximately 79,000.
Quick question on that. The one that says medical insurance, why didn't they pay? Like 2015 of $6,626. I'm assuming that there's no heading on that one. 2016 shows that says medical insurance.
The medical insurance was insurance that never was billed. Once again, I can't answer from the past. I can only give you going forward. It was either not billed, and a lot of these phone calls I did receive were people that were upset because their medical insurance was never billed, because they are calling their medical insurance to find out why wasn't this paid. And their medical insurance is saying, we never received it, and guess what? It's past that time. Typically, medical insurance will not go back more than a year to 2 years. Medicare and Medicaid will not go past 1 year.
Well, you gave us a lot of reports. Thank you.
Any other questions?
When do you want to answer?
Whenever you're ready to give me one.
Troy's got to
Since you took over, Bruce, I know you've been building
Not to write it off, you don't
software,
write it
keeping
off.
up to date with billing, since
No,
you've
we just
been
vote on it
chief
before.
now.
Oh, we can?
Yeah, we just vote on it.
Cheryl, is this the satisfactory to get written off for the auditors to be okay with that?
And I have talked to Cheryl ad nauseum. I'm sure she's like, oh, him again. But I do talk to her about these write-offs, and we're in agreement. Because if she would say, well, I think you should do this, then I would probably do that.
But you already have, you sent out bills, so.
Yes. And I have
15 and 16 wrote off, or just 15?
It'd be 15 and 16.
Okay.
And a lot of these ones that are getting wrote off are the Medicaids and the Medicares, and some are deceased.
But some are private insurance.
And some are private insurance.
There's a guy I talked to, he said his insurance would have paid them, but they won't pay now because he's not with the same insurance companies.
Right.
I had a quick question, I'm sorry,
Nope.
Mayor. Since you've taken over, though, with your percentage of returns, with your, I think you have new billing software and working more closely, billing it right away after the runs are done and
Yes.
coded properly, is your rate of return increase sufficiently?
I can't answer that. Currently, the reason why I can't answer that is because I'm not sure. I'm not sure, well, I'm not sure what the rate of return was from prior years.
Right.
So I can only give you what this year was. Have we, well, at this time, we have a Medicare, our payments are being held up on the Medicare side because of a snafu of some sort. I don't know. Cheryl and I talk about it daily, trust. But it has nothing to do with the billing. It's more on their end that they say that they haven't received something, and I know Cheryl has sent it several times. So when I can give you a better answer, I will. But I'm hoping, I would really like to see a rate of return at about 90%.
That'd be wonderful.
What do you consider realistic?
Realistic?
50?
If I get 80%, and the reason being is, like you had said, getting the bills sent out in a timely manner, sending those statements out,
if somebody has a balance due from a Medicare or an insurance, I do send those out pretty quick. Today was the beginning of the first quarter or the third quarter for us, and I've already sent out the township bills. So that was about $12,000 today. So I do try to stay on top of that, because I do know that's where my funding comes from.
So we're not going to collect 15 or 16, so I feel I'll make a motion that we write those 2 years off.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Ridgway,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Bassett,
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes.
Barth.
Yes.
Anything else?
No?
Okay.
Is there-
Anybody have any questions for him?
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Park Director Val Shaw. Would you like to come to the podium and discuss anything?
No. I think the pool's doing great, hotter than it's been. And both games are all winding down, we're starting on all-stars Thursday.
Were you going to ask council about allowing the horseshoe pitchers to have fencing from the park?
I didn't know if they were brought up on it.
Okay, well, I wrote myself a note because I thought you'd probably bring it up.
Oh.
Was it discussed at the park? It was in the park board minutes, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, and you guys were okay with giving chain link fence to the horseshoe pitchers at the fair? And so I was called about,
Yeah, it was what they tore down when we put the new fencing up, it's temporary fencing. It isn't in real good shape.
so anyway, can we just give them our old fence, chain link fence for horseshoe pitchers at the fairgrounds?
Probably doesn't have any value, does it?
I don't think so. Does it have value?
Not
No.
really. I mean, it's.
I don't even know how much they're talking about. I just,
There was the stuff that was on the backfield one, temporary.
Yeah.
Before they put the permanent fence
One
in.
and, it was on 1 and 7.
1 and 7.
Have a resolution?
well, I had gotten
Probably
called
should.
about it, and I thought you'd probably bring it up and
Like
address it,
we
but I
did
just wrote
with
myself a note in
fire
case you
Fire
didn't.
equipment.
Fire.
So you just need quantity then, probably?
Yeah.
How many feet you think you got, Greg? How many feet?
There's plenty of them, I think, 10-foot long.
So you don't even have a ton.
I don't need it.
You don't even have a ton. I mean, that's the only value I'm seeing in it, is scrap. And if you don't have a ton, and I think scrap's 175 right now. So we're looking at giving them $175.
Yeah, if somebody gets a exact distance or whatever, we can do a resolution and
So-
who's it actually being given to, I guess, would it be
Yes,
the-
Ken.
I hate to pipe in, but isn't there something where you can say if it's valued less than 1,000, you can do it? That might go back quite a few years. I don't know.
No, there's something you don't, I think if you want to give it away or destroy it or whatever, I think you still have to have some
Okay.
declaration that it's worth that. I can double check that.
Okay.
Well, that's what I meant, if you just say equipment less than 1,000.
Gary, would you
Oh,
would you
yeah.
please get with Troy and let him know how many feet that is? So that he can put together some legislation to bring back to council for the next
And
meeting.
it's actually being donated to
What do you call yourself?
Fair Board, the Horseshoe Pitchers.
Club.
Defiance
Club.
County Horseshoe Club.
Got it.
All right. Anything else, Val, or does anybody have any questions for Val?
Pardon?
I just wondered if you had anything else or if anybody has any questions. Nobody does, I guess. I went swimming at the pool the other day. It was very refreshing.
How many free days have you had?
Just one. I know the one day that you were there, they said, their phone said it was only 87 or something like that. I thought they would have had a free day that day, but they didn't.
The only thing I'd like to see is that adults can swim during break. I know they used to have it.
Well,
They say they can't do that anymore legally.
I knew they used to have adults swim during breaks. That's why I was surprised when I couldn't, but that's okay. I had to follow the rules.
Got her hand slapped.
I know. Out of the water.
Corrected, I said,
And I caught her running.
Did you have your swimmies on, Diane?
Pardon me?
Did you have your swimmies on?
I did, yeah. Yep. Okay, thank you, department heads.
Mayor,
Yes,
could I say something?
Yes.
Like as a department, okay.
yep.
Just so you guys know, Ken did go double check, our budget was fine for the truck. So since that was on record before, it did go to committee. I understand what you guys discussed going forward, but it did go to committee,
What committee?
water sewer.
I do remember was talking.
I remember the discussion in here about
Yes,
it.
I do remember.
It did, and that price is total, body and,
Right.
so it was under the threshold.
What happened to the old truck?
What happened to it?
What happens?
Options were discussed,
It
I'm not
wasn't a
sure.
trade-in or anything?
No,
Okay.
it will still be utilized by the village, I'm not 100% sure which direction they're gonna go.
An option, I hope.
You
Yeah, we
know,
can sell that with
that's up to
those other
somebody
two
else.
trucks.
And the other, what was that, Ron?
We could sell that with those other two trucks.
Beautification committee.
Get rid of that diesel.
Not
Diesel.
something you
Oh, it
want.
is a diesel.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's,
Sounds nice.
it's not something you want for that. But there are options that can be discussed, you know, once it's completely off the road. The other thing I did want to bring up, we did have an employee in my department involved in an accident today. So if you guys get paperwork and hear things on that, just keep them in your thoughts. I don't have an update. I went to the hospital last I heard, so I think he's okay. I think it was precautionary, but just so you guys would keep that in your.
I went to the hospital to see him.
Did you get there?
Yeah.
And still, everything's good. Thank
We'll
you.
shut it up, right?
And it was a village employee during working hours?
During working hours, a village employee, to my understanding, not his fault. Something happened to him. So,
Okay.
just, you know, a heads up if nothing else, but also keep them in your thoughts.
Yep,
Yeah,
do
thank
keep
you.
him in your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
Fair. That's your convenience, I would like to have a personnel, or
Yeah,
executive session,
could-
discuss personnel.
Yeah, could we go through all the fiscal officers'
We can do
report,
anything
please?
you want to, dear.
We will go on to the fiscal officers' report.
Okay, you have the month-to-date, year-to-date cash report, the income tax and utility report for June. You have the best quote that Ron was talking about earlier. You have two sections of the personnel manual that we'd like to update ASAP. It'll be with the resolution, Troy? Okay. You have another Ohio Division of Liquor Control notice, and it is different from the one you had earlier. The OML I threw in there because they are talking about changing how their water delivery practice for villages that provide water for people outside their limits.
The state wants to set the rate, is what I'm getting out of it.
They want to tell you how much you can charge. There's a bunch of stuff from Huber, and I put it in there because it was addressed to you. I also added some revolving loan information and the mayor's court report from Julie. And for the first time, since I balanced today, I put my balancing in there for you to look at also, if you have any questions about that. It also shows all of our investments and things you ordinarily don't look at.
One thing that I noticed is in Dawn's reconciliation report for the refuse receipts, 16,846. And I compared that with another report that we had, and it's just a couple $100 difference, but I figured that was comparing June to May. Does Whirlers, I compared it to the Whirler bill on the approved bills list. Was the Whirler bill on the approved bills list May's charge?
It's June, and it will be taken out of our account automatically in July.
Okay, because it was a few $100 difference of what Whirlers was charging us and what we collected in. Yeah. And also, the income tax report looks really good. But
The-
there's 239 non-filers that Kim's trying to take care of, but she really is limited until October when the federal extension time is complete. So she's kind of at a standstill, but I think for that information that the income tax collections look pretty good. I think she looks like she's done a pretty good job for having her hands tied with that. So I assume the Personnel Committee needs to look over the proposed policy book changes.
They have already.
They have already, okay. And you got an Ohio Municipal League email the last few days, and there's a lot of things in that email that is of concern to me, and probably should be to you too. So the Huber Opera House, they're kicking off a Fund the Wall campaign set for July 11th from 5 to 7 at the Huber. Alan Hilbert, Dr. Alan Hilbert, historian of Hicksville and chief proponent of the Development Corporation, is spearheading the fund drive. They'll also be celebrating the 99 years of Dr. Hilbert. There's going to be a historical display at the Huber. But I know the Hicksville Development Corporation is doing matching funds to fund the wall for up to $25,000. So if anyone's so inclined, this would be a good time to send in a donation to the Huber to repair their wall, and it will be matched. And Dawn wanted me to mention that the utility e-bill is now available. If you use our free automatic ACH payment plan or just want to eliminate snail mail, this is for you. Sign up is easy. Just stop by the utility office, complete the authorization form, and you will get your bill electronically like you can with a lot of other services these days. APT Manufacturing was featured in the New York Times. I think I sent it to all the council members. We're pretty proud of them and their success, and it's nice to get all the attention that they're getting. The senior center is a cooling center and warming for those in the winter months. I got this email from Linda McMahon. So we talked about cooling centers at the last council meeting, and we didn't really know where a person could go, but you can go to the senior center Monday through Friday, 8 to 2:30 are business hours, but they'll be open at other times until the urgency passes. So if you need relief from the hot temperatures, please go to the senior center. So I think we're ready to go into executive session for your personnel issue.
I make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, please.
Ridgway,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Bassett,
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes.
Barth.
Yes.
Bill, before you shut the camera off, I would really like to acknowledge Bill and Sandy Zimmerman. They went over to the Veterans Memorial and they pulled a 30-gallon bag of weeds over there, and I would invite anybody who notices weeds at any of our flower beds or the Veterans Memorial to feel free to remove them. Thank you.